classic MMO game. Also, I'm gonna concentrate for a sec, because this boss fight is actually quite difficult.
I do that every show, Mr. Magoo. Thank you again. Forget to unmute. I keep it on mute while I'm getting set up, and then I always forget. And you always remind me. That's why I appreciate your help so much. Welcome back to the show, guys. It's an early episode of Blazor StateHasChanged. It is Thursday instead of Friday, like normal. I've got code stock tomorrow, and I won't be able to make a live stream from code stock. I don't know how well the bandwidth is and stuff at the hotel, and I figured it'd be a lot better to just do it a day early. So yeah, sometimes the hosting pages or the hosting on Twitch doesn't kick over right away. Not sure why that is. But glad you could make it, Lewis. Quite a few folks already in the chat room, even though it's an early show, so I'll go ahead and cut over to some news here in just a sec. First, we have a new follower. So thanks for following Lewis Hendricks. I think we spoke a little bit in the chat room the other day. It's nice to see you join the show. So I've been working on some stuff, and I've got these really cool, let's get that in front of the camera, these really awesome stickers that resemble, let's say, they resemble a, we'll say robotic fist, so I don't get in trouble with any big companies that want to make claims to what that actually looks like. But the stickers are very awesome. If you are somewhere, I will be in the upcoming set of trips that I have. Come see me. I will be happy to give you one. Let's see, I can post those places that I will be. So I'll pop that in the chat room. Those are the places I'll be so far this year. Some places I have sessions, workshops, others I just have a booth. Shipping those to Sweden would probably be very inefficient cost-wise. Let's just say that. Otherwise, I'd love to do it. Speaking of stuff, I don't use the show to like promote swag and things, but I did add a merch store because I had a lot of people asking me for like t-shirts and things, which I didn't have, so I went ahead and made some available online. So you can find that stuff if you're interested in getting like a t-shirt or anything like that. Oh, thanks for the cheer. Definitely appreciate that. So there are t-shirts and stuff with the Blazor cartoon graphic that I had made up by a very amazing, talented guy that is an international speaker. His name's David Neal. David has some really great artwork, and he was kind enough to provide me his services to make that graphic. So I went ahead and put some of those in the store for people that are interested. Again, that's not the purpose of the show, is like to sell swag and things, but that's the only way I could get it to people, is just put it up online for them to grab and have it printed for themselves. So it is out there, and it's pretty cool stuff. I have some shirts coming for myself, and of course I can't put the stickers on there. They don't have stickers in the merch store, unfortunately. So you'll have to find me in person to get those. But anyway, let's get into some news. I don't have a lot of news this week. I'm trying to keep the show a little on the short side. And I am going to cut the music because I had a lot of negative feedback about music. So it's good for the introduction part. We'll go ahead and cut that out for the actual show. And welcome new folks to the stream, and welcome people that are returning. I wanted to start off with this message that just came across my eyeballs a few minutes ago. Apparently, there's some issues with the latest preview release of Visual Studio. So Visual Studio Preview 16.1, I guess it is. I have a prompt for it here. I haven't installed it yet, but apparently there are some issues with 16.1 Preview 1. So I'm holding off on that install because it looks like you lose some of the Blazor, what do you call it, tooling services or analyzers or something in that update. I'm just speculating there's going to be another Blazor release sometime next week, and hopefully it will address that issue. So in the meantime, maybe hold off on upgrading your preview bits of Visual Studio. So just wanted to kind of do a little PSA there and get that out of the way. The other big news was something that I alluded to last show, is the Telluric Ui for Blazor 040 has shipped. So we have a blog post on Telluric.com about this, and I'll go through some quick demos today. If anybody has questions on anything, feel free to ask. If you want to see something in particular, please post it in the chat room. Otherwise, I'll just try to grab some stuff off the top of my head. One of the biggest things, though, is the namespacing has changed. So if you're already testing out the Telluric UI bits for Blazor, you'll notice that we dropped the Kendo namespace because we've diverted from the Kendo UI bits so far that we felt that the Telluric namespace was more appropriate for the UI components for Blazor. Yeah, they did add the calendar and the date picker. Now let's get the PDF viewer in. The PDF viewer we've had requests for, so they're looking at how to bump that into the roadmap, but I don't know exactly when yet, so we shall see. So yeah, the biggest breaking change was names spaces changed on all of the components. We did get a new calendar control. I'll show some live bits here in a sec. We got the charts and drop down lists and all that good stuff. So let's actually look at some demos. I've got the demo bits up, and you can grab the demos from online. You can go to either the blog post on blogs.telluric.com, or we also have a GitHub. Let's see if I can pop the GitHub link in the chat if anybody wants to take a look at the GitHub pages. It is under GitHub Telluric UI for Blazor examples. And here's where you can find all the actual code that I'm looking at. So Chris got the latest preview bits for Visual Studio and not seeing any errors. So it might be an isolated thing. So far, Mr. Magoo as well. So looks like it's hit and miss with that Visual Studio release. So here's where you can find all of the Telluric Ui demos, and there's instructions there on how to get a free preview while we're in the preview stages of building these components out. But let's go ahead and run this application here. And I showed some of these in a very early preview last week. Some things worked, some things didn't, and charts weren't there yet. So we'll take a peek at charts. I also want to show like the drop-down list, because drop-down list is really powerful stuff in this release as well. One thing that's special to note about this preview is we've integrated with the validation system in Blazor, so that's working really well. So you'll see things like the drop-down list has a validation example in it. So if you try to submit the drop-down box without, let's switch to a coding view so you guys can see better. There we go. Let's zoom in a little bit as well. So you can see in the demo app here, if I don't choose an item from the drop-down box, I get validation, and this is using the built-in validation system, the edit form and data annotations validator that comes with Blazor 0.90. So that's all new stuff that was added to Blazor, and we've gotten in line with all the validation bits. So the drop-down box has validation, which is awesome. As soon as I changed that box, you notice the validation kicks in and off. We also have templates, which is really powerful stuff. So I actually went back and I updated these demos. We already had, it looks like we're not on the latest demo bits yet, so I'll show you exactly what I did put a pull request in for. If we go into the drop-down list on templates, this is the page I have up now, and you can see we've got some simple templates in here right now. We have a header and footer placeholder for the drop-down box. What's really cool is you can specify templates for the item, the header, the footer, and they're really interactive as far as what type of code you can drop in there. So in the example here, we have a Telluric drop-down list, and it's binding a selected value. And it also has a data component to it, so we can just bind to any enumerable. And then we can set the field and product name on those as well. And then once we do that, we can actually go in and set templates up. So we have the ability to set a header, a footer, and whatnot. Now, the footer in this demo, I believe this has actually been, this is likely updated online. I put a pull request in for it. I don't know if it went through yet. But you see just the word header is up here and footer down below. Those things can be anything. They can be other components. They can be dynamic elements. So for example, with the footer, what we can do is we have this data drop-down list is where our data comes from. And we can come into the footer, and let's just use the same data source and say at drop-down list data dot count. So we can just grab the count of those items, and we can say in here items colon, just a little bit of plain text, and then we can give like an item count and show how many items are in that drop-down list right in the footer of the template. So if we do a rerun here, let's rebuild the solution. I don't know if I'm going to hit any of the stickiness with rebuilding projects today. I haven't noticed any problems because I believe it's because these are not .Razer files yet in our demo project that we don't hit those clean and rebuild issues. So let's see. Let's see. Is that Elantrio? Elantrio? Maybe a silly question, but can the Telluric UI be used with tag helpers? So a little bit of a yes and no answer there. The tag helpers are for ASP.NET MVC or ASP.NET Core MVC, and Blazor does not utilize any of that infrastructure. However, there will be future application scenarios where you can put Blazor components inside of a typical ASP.NET Core MVC application. So while you can't have tag helpers in a Blazor app, you can have Blazor components in an ASP.NET Core MVC app. In that scenario, you could mix the two together. Hopefully, we'll have enough component parity at that point where you won't need to do that, but that is a likely scenario. You could have that in a more backwards compatibility type of a scenario. But you can't use tag helpers in a Blazor application, no. They're actually getting rid of some of the verbiage for that as well. There's a syntax for the tag helper stuff in Blazor. Let's see, Space Shot TV. I was actually just about to ask about Razer components in other frameworks. Can't find it in the docs. Let's see, what we can do is, I'm going to, in chat, do bang roadmap. And what this will give you is the GitHub repo for the official roadmap for Blazor. And if we take a deep dive into this, it is in here somewhere. I don't remember exactly where, but the initial groundwork has been done on this, and you can actually drop the components into a Razer Pages or an MVC project as it stands today, and it does render the components. However, they are not interactive at this point. So there is backwards compatibility coming. It is in that roadmap somewhere. I'm not going to look for it right this minute, but you can kind of scan through that list of roadmap features, and it's in there somewhere. Yeah, no problem. Great question. Let's go back to that drop-down list and pull up the template again, because remember, I changed the footer template, and now look, it's counting the number of items. Whoops, dropped that drop-down box. It's counting the number of items now, so I have full control over what's rendering in that footer, and notice it stays put when I scroll too, which is really nice. We can do the same thing for the header, and for the product names here, we can do more with this. I haven't tried this out yet, so bear with me if something goes wrong. I like to use this service called Placeholdit. And we'll just grab some random images here. Placeholder.com. I guess they renamed the URL here, but what we can do is grab a simple placeholder URL like this. Too big up and oh, did I pasted this in wrong maybe? Yeah, I copied the wrong text here, but we can go like that. We can say placeholder.com and then specify an image size. Let's do something a little bit smaller so we don't blow up our grid, our drop-down box. Let's get a 16 by 16 image, maybe a 24. Let's go with 24. So a 24 pixel image, and then we can come back and say, well, if we wanted an image in this product, we could come into the item template, and in the item template, I can get an image tag. And I can set the source. I'll just set it to placeholdit.com, and I won't do an alternate text, but we could put one there if we needed it. And we'll do a rebuild. So now I should have a little image inside of those item templates. Do you have an example of a real-time web application, something like a newsfeed or similar? So like a SignalR type of scenario where it's getting pushed live data? Is that what you're asking? If so, I don't have an example of something with live data. There is a project out there called Flight Finder, but it doesn't use any live data like that. It's just a more in-depth, like more deeply integrated. let's see, is Blazor Flight Finder. So you can check out Flight Finder. That's another sample project. And I don't know if they've moved it or what, but it is, oh, it's just right there under that folder. You could check that out. And there's also, it's under AKA MS Blazor Workshop, is a fully integrated pizza shop demo. But none of those have any like feed type of like pushing data down to Blazor type of thing. So I think we'll see SignalR integration somewhere along the line, but it's just not there yet. Considering a Blazor Getter app for the moment. Yeah, there's not any streaming chat right now that you'd have to fall back to what do you call it? You'd have to fall back on a JavaScript interop at this point to do SignalR. And I've tried doing some of that stuff, and it's not quite ready yet. Let's just say that. So I dropped an image in that template, and you could see that our product has images now. They're just placeholder images, but they're images. We could put anything in there. If we had like, say we had car rentals or something like that, we could put those in a drop-down box really, really easily. So the templates are super flexible there. You could also set a value template. So this will actually render whatever you'd like in the selected part of the box as well. So that's pretty cool stuff. Right now it's just showing the product text, but you can see it's different. In the item template here, I have an image, I have the product, and I have the price. And then in the selected template, I just have the product name. So that shows you the 4 different types of templates that are available. And the drop-down box also, you'll notice, has a nice smooth animation and stuff. This nice animation that's coming from this drop-down comes from our animation container. This is a neat component that does animations. We use this in some of our other components. So you get the ability to make components with the animation container just by wrapping that animation container around things. So animation container, you just give it some dimensions and what type of animation, and it does some really cool stuff. So that's how the drop-down box actually gets that effect. We have charts now too. Charts are here. I talked about this a little bit in Getter. They do rely on some JavaScript. What's nice about this is they do not rely on any legacy stuff. So we don't have any like jQuery or anything like that behind the scenes. We did decide to go with a JavaScript interop for these though, because it offered us a lot more bang for our buck in many regards. Things like performance, rendering out SVGs in the render tree just weren't performant enough. We have a lot of different SVG elements that get added at runtime because we don't know all of the details of the charts until the data gets bound to them. So we might need to add at runtime different series of charts and different, what are they called? Like tooltips and all kinds of stuff get added to these things. So there's a lot of moving pieces here. It would have taken us a lot of time to get Blazor charts running with the render tree and working with good performance and things. So we made some trade-offs, and we had to fall back on some JavaScript interops to get this done. But we've got some really good stuff that we can piggyback off of now that we've got these interops in place. I did a show months ago, and I don't have an updated demo of it, but I gave a proof of concept for being able to get an element reference to this entire page, just the graph, just any element on the page, and with one line of code hooking up an export button that you can click and download a PDF or a PNG file or whatever you'd like. So there's some good stuff that can come from this. Yeah, no, JavaScript's cheating. But it's a necessary evil sometimes. Our engineering approach has been we do as much as humanly possible with the Blazor framework until we absolutely hit a sticking point where we have to make a decision. And that decision is usually the component isn't going to happen or we have to use JavaScript. And in the case of the charts, for it to be as performant as we'd like, it had to be done in JavaScript. Let's see what else we have going on in chat here. I can easily get JavaScript. Is someone else responsible for maintaining the code? Oh, it can easily live with Java. Yeah, we're responsible for maintaining the JavaScript in this scenario. So we're not using any third-party stuff for this. This is all our charting library that we're using. So there's nothing that you would have to worry about maintaining. It's actually just one. There's one CDN reference, and at this current moment, we don't have it available any other way, but we would eventually have it to where you could download that one JavaScript file and put it in your project in case you had some kind of JavaScript pipeline or something that you wanted to run that through, whether it's like bundling or whatever. It will be in the www.root index file. You can see it right here. It's using our Kendo CDN. It's called Telluric Blazor min.js. It's less than like 200K, so it's not too big of a deal. It's not a whole lot of JavaScript. Like I said, there's no jQuery or anything like that bundled in with it or anything. It's just raw vanilla JavaScript. So that's how we decided to move forward with it for now. You know, those charts may get changed out behind the scenes eventually sometime as the platform matures and we have more time to invest in the charts themselves. But right now, that's the only real thing that we're really falling back on JavaScript for, except for maybe some accessibility features. That's another big deal for us, is accessibility. So if you know, the charts and everything else in the framework are accessible. So if there's something that we hit a roadblock with, that means accessibility is out unless we use JavaScript, JavaScript's in. So yeah, it is definitely all vanilla JavaScript. We don't have anything. There's no Angular, React, jQuery, Vue, none of that stuff going on. We actually are using some raw bits in there, so it's all good. Let's see, what else do we have? We'll get into a little bit more of this stuff, and then we'll jump over to working on NuGet packages. Numeric Text Box, we had this one in last time. We have validation now, which is awesome. So we have validation for our Numeric Text Box. This uses, again, the edit form. And let's see here. What are we validating? Age in years. So can't go over 200 years old. So if we did something like 250, notice it, as soon as I get to that number, these things are validating in real time. So we don't have to do like an on-change event or anything. It's happening as we type, which is great. It's a nice and fluid experience. Tab strip didn't change any. Let's see what else we have in here. We have a new text box that has validation in abilities in it. And it has things like disabled features and whatnot. So you can also limit the number of characters you can type. There'll be other input controls piggybacking off of that later. So it's a good building block for some stuff to come. Oh, we also have date input. So this is another input style of a box, and this one is to help people with formatting dates. So you can hand key a date really quick and easy. So this really is a handy tool for that. Except I'm really bad at typing dates. I want to say 2020. There we go. So we've got this date input text box, and it has validation as well. It's already yelling at me. So it has to be between let's see, 10/10/2016. So I could do, let's see, when is build 0? Oops. Now we can use the arrow keys to enter these values. I can't remember exactly when build is, but it's definitely going to be this year. I can't put build's date in. 2018. So it's kind of a nice handy input there for doing date inputs. And we also have calendar control for this type of thing. Calendar control is pretty slick. It does couple different modes. So you can do things like give me just the years. Like, you notice there's no days on this, so we're only doing year and month. And you can adjust the calendar component however you'd like. You can also do individual date selection, and then this is super cool. You can control and shift click to grab multiple dates, and control click to remove dates, just like that. So that's a really handy one for doing scheduling and stuff. So we don't have localization enabled yet. I'm not sure about the date picker itself, if there's a way to like manually, I mean, you could set the formatting manually here, but we don't have any localization for anything built in yet. I think we're waiting for the Microsoft folks to settle on how it's supposed to be implemented, just like we did with validation. We didn't want to bake our own localization in and then have the .NET team create their own version of it, and then we'd have to kind of rewrite everything. So if we look again at the GitHub issue page for Blazor, let's do this. Localization support is on their backlog, and it is beyond preview 6. So we really don't want to get into localization at this point until they figure that out themselves. So that's how we're kind of handling those type of things. And I think we played it right on validation. So we didn't go put the cart in front of the horse on the validation and end up doing like some JavaScript interop validation or some validation that doesn't work with data annotations, and then have 2 ways of doing validation eventually. Yeah, localization is tough, but it is something that we focus on at Telluric on all of our stuff. Accessibility and localization are 2 big wins for us. That's one of the things that we do best that's not available in like open source tooling and things. You're not going to find localization built into like Bootstrap or something. So that's something that we can add a lot of value to. And I definitely know we're focused on it. It's just waiting for the right time to do it. Our theme builder works extremely well. That's a question that I wanted to kind of cover real quick. Somebody asked in the chat room yesterday, they actually got ahead of me. They asked how to style the chart series and stuff. And there's actually an API for it in the Blazor component itself. If we open up the chart, let's see, it might be easier to do let's try the donut chart. We can actually, let's see here. I don't know how to do this off the top of my head. Oh, it is on the series type here. There's actually a property in here for the color. There we go. So we can actually set the color, and let's see, this is the series item. This is a data bound item. It might be easier to see on the line chart. Maybe I jumped in front of this one a little too hard. Let's try the line chart. So we have individual lines. There we go. So these are easier to see. So we have 2 Indias and a Haiti. That's interesting data. So we've got a red line, a yellow line. Yeah, weird. India, Haiti. I don't know how we chose these. but we've got 2 Indias and green is Haiti. So let's go change, since Haiti's obvious, we can change that one. There should be a color field in here. There we go, color. We can set a color here. Let's make it black. 0 should be black. Let's see if that does the trick. And there's, oh shoot, build. Hit the wrong button for a second there. We'll shut the show down. So we can color these through the API, but we also can use a theme builder, which is really awesome. Let's see, we got a build going. Hopefully that succeeds. Let's try to refresh this page and see if that works. If not, we'll just spin up a new one. Yeah, there we go. The line color is now black. So you can easily change the colors just by toggling a property inside of the component, which that is super handy if you're binding or if you're pulling data from a data source. You can change the color on the fly based on, say, maybe there's a certain range that you've hit that you want to color it red for catching people's attention. You can do stuff like that. If you want to just color the entire chart in general, though, what you can do is come up to this theme builder, and you can get Sass variables. There's no product under this yet. We will have one eventually, but you can essentially choose any of these, and they will give you the same theming capabilities. So I just chose MVC just to give me something to run off of. I'll choose the default theme. And we can come into components, and this will give us a drop-down thing that we can check all components off. And then just the chart that I want to style, like for example, I can just choose line chart, and it will just give me the line chart. And then I can come into color swatches, and I can pick a predefined color set, or I could put in my own. Let's grab something that's got a little bit of color to it. Let's try forest. Let's see what that does. And it updates in real time. So we got like these earthy red tones. And if I want to put this style in my project, I just hit download, and I could say custom chart here, or I could use, I could theme everything and just say, I can name that however I'd want. And then this actually gives you CSS files or Sass files that you can use in your app. So you get two files in here. So I could come in and grab this CSS file, and I'll have only the stuff for the chart in that, because I only chose the chart component. Or I am wrong, completely wrong. It's got everything in it. My mistake. I thought we narrowed it down to just the chart component. Or I may have hit the wrong download option, but you put the custom CSS in your project, and it will theme out that chart component to match what you have in the theme builder. So that's pretty cool too. I personally like to use the Sass values. So all these values you see on the side over here, you can go into Sass, and you can say chart, or you can say series A equals something else, and it'll change. Is there any way to hook in and let users change their element customers on demand? Element colors on demand. You could set up a property. So I don't know how to do the HTML color picker thing. Let's give it a look real quick though. You could do something like this. You can say string is color chart color. Yeah, come on. Chart color equals, and then we can give this a value, and we could bind this value to any type of input. Is there a native HTML color picker? I can't remember. I don't have a browser open. Let's try this. Let's see, HTML color input. Oh, I guess input type color might do it. Let's try that one. So let's go to under the chart and say input, type equals color. Oh, I didn't really realize that worked so easily. What else do we need to make that work? We can set the value. It's pretty basic though. Let's give that a try. So we can say value is at chart color, like that. And let's do a build. Mr. Magoo's always 2 steps ahead of everybody in the room. Thank you, Mr. Magoo. So we can set up a color picker that way. Let's do a run. We should be able to bind to, I could do bind. Bind's probably going to make me not have to do StateHasChanged. So we'll probably have to go back and add that. Let's see, I was on the line chart. Now we have a color picker, and we set that to orange. And yeah, I need to do bind, so it'll do, let's see, bind. Otherwise, I'm going to have to call StateHasChanged on it. Rebuild this, and should be good to go. Running without debugging, I should be able to just refresh. We shall see. So we've got loading, defaults to black, change it to orange, hit OK. Oh, it didn't re-render. Not sure if I'm doing something wrong. Maybe it didn't get the new bits. Let's try one more rerun. Let it build again, just to make sure we're on the latest version of it. I've never dealt with the input box before. I know not all of the inputs bind correctly. One example of that is the radio buttons don't quite work right. You have to go through some extra steps. So yeah, I need to do something to grab that color out of there, I guess. Oh, or maybe I'm just not doing it right at all, and I didn't actually bind it up in the chart color. So the color property was set to a static input, or a static value. It's Friday for me, actually. I gotta drive soon, so I gotta head out to Codestock, and my head is a little in the clouds, I guess. So completely forgot to set the value. Give this guy a rerun, and that should do it. So we can use color pickers like that, and there we go. That's better. So how about that? Who asked that? It was Lewis. Was that kind of what you were looking for? All right, we did it. So yeah, you can bind to built-in color picker. So that's what's nice about having the color properties here and in CSS, is that we can utilize those programmatically since they're properties on the component. So awesome stuff there. All right. You know, if it fails, it fails. That's the beauty of the live stream, is if something goes wrong, we have Mr. Magoo to figure out for us, right? Right, Mr. Magoo? Yeah, that worked well. We can set those at runtime. I think this probably wraps it up for the Telluric stuff for now, unless somebody has another question or dare, I guess. If anyone wants me to try anything else, I am more than happy to. If not, I'm going to move on to getting that NuGet package uploaded. So we worked on this a little bit last week. If you never built a NuGet package before, there's a few moving pieces that you need to know about to get a NuGet package published, and we were working with that last week. And in the preview bits, it seemed to be broken. So I'm going to switch off of the preview bits and move to the stable release. So I need Visual Studio. Let's see, Visual Studio. 2019. I don't want the preview. I just want the regular version. And I have a project called CSS Builder. And right now it is in this library. No, I haven't replaced the moon with the black hole yet. Black hole, kind of, it's a really cool technical feat, but not the most attractive photo ever. It is pretty insane that they were able to pull that off, though. So we've got the project here. I've called it Component Utilities, and that needs to change. So the first thing I want to do is change this namespace. I finally settled on something. I think I'm going to call it Blazor, so it's easy to find in the NuGet feed. Blazor and Component Utilities. One word. Like that, because component dot, if you have component in your namespace, it seems to interfere with the actual components. So it needed to be renamed. So Blazor.componentUtilities, I think, is what I'll stick on for this, because I may add other things in here later. I don't know if I really want to specify exactly what I'm going to build later, because I'd like to maybe hash it out on the show another time. But what I need to do is come in and rename a lot of stuff here. I'm going to do a Control-RR and try to refactor these out. Let's see, what do I want to call this? I don't know if I should rename components using the rename tool. That might rename some things I don't want it to. Let's do Blazor. Component Utilities. So that should be our new namespace, Blazor.componentUtilities. And there's actually no Blazor dependencies in here. You could use it elsewhere. The other frameworks, I've got some spelling errors in here, it looks like. I just added a new plugin for spell checking, which seems to be really cool, because I'm terrible at spelling sometimes. As you can see, I walk through simple spelling errors like separator and condition. And this plugin, though, if you go to the Visual Studio Marketplace, it's just in there, or you could go to Tools, Extensions, Manage Extensions, and just do a quick search for spell. Let's see if that comes up. Yeah, Visual Studio Spell Checker. So this does spell checking, and it does it intelligently. It does it where where you'd have spelling errors. It doesn't check your code. Unfortunately, if you misspell something like a class, it's not going to pick it up, but at the same time, you really don't want spell checking on classes. It's going to be a total pain. Oh, yes. Since I switched to this version of Visual Studio, I don't have my theme installed. So it's, sorry, the font got small there for everyone. Thanks for the reminder, Goran. Actually, let me pull in. So this is another good tip. If you go into Extension Manager and you look for theme, nothing is found because I'm looking under installed. I want to go online. I wish it would default to online, really. Maybe that's some feedback I need to give to the team. I really rarely use things that are the dialog that's already installed. So Visual Studio Theme Editor for Visual Studio 2019. I'm going to go ahead and download that guy. This is what I use for my theming stuff that you see on the show. I need to close my editor for it to take place. So let's kill it and let it reinstall. So this Visual Studio theme editor is really handy. Modify, it looks like I've already got theming installed on the other version. So hopefully Modify will kick it in on the stable version here. So I hope I don't break Visual Studio. Hey, welcome to the show, VuCat12. What do I think of Blazor? I've enjoyed enough that I do a show on it every week. How about that? And we've got the Telluric Ui for Blazor where I work. We're working hard on that, so I'm very happy with Blazor so far. Don't know what happened to my V6 installer. There it goes. All right, let's see if it works now. Visual Studio, I don't want the preview. I want stable Visual Studio 2019. Let's see if my theme automatically comes up or if I have to toggle it back on. But that plugin, it has a full editor built in, which is nice because Visual Studio Code has like tons of themes. Visual Studio only has a handful. And component utilities. Boy, it slowed down here for a sec. All right, there we go. So I accidentally killed my project though. So I need to go, notice it came up immediately with the color theme tool. I'll get to this in a sec. I need to get my project back up and running. Since I renamed it, it seems to have lost it from my recents. And let's see, what was this guy called? It was component utilities. I lost it because it is under repos possibly. When I renamed it, it looks like it lost the project from its history. Now I'm off going to find it. So it was component utilities. I renamed it. The folder shouldn't have renamed though. Just gotta find which directory. Oh, there we go. Component utilities. Boom. There we are. Back in business. I tried to organize my project folders because I have like a million projects, and sometimes I do a little more harm than good when I do that type of stuff. Getting organized is hard. All right, so it comes with these default themes, which a few of them are the actual default themes. What's cool is I can import themes that I already have, and if I go to my source folder, I have my theme that I created. And let's try applying that one. Thanks for the follows. I got 2 new followers, VuCat12 and Servered. Let's see, it didn't apply my theme. How come? What's going on with the theme editor? I imported it, so let's see. Save and apply. Maybe I need to apply it again. And it's not doing anything. This is the first time I tried to use it in Visual Studio 2019, so either the theme I installed isn't compatible. It should be though. It looks like the colors are showing up where they belong. This isn't good. I'm going to try restarting it one more time. I was trying to give everybody a handy tip and it blew up in my face. This is the downside of doing things live. Silverlight, Blazor is the best thing since Silverlight. I keep hearing Silverlight developers talking about migrating projects in the near future. So it seems like, there we go, my theme took place that time. So it looks like I had to do a little reboot. You normally don't have to reboot when you change themes, unless this is a 2019 feature. We'll call it a feature. That you have to restart after you change a theme. But you can see you've got all these themes to choose from. And now I've got my theme that I use all the time, which means it has my font, hopefully. Let's try. Let's see if my ligatures work. Boom. Yep, my ligatures are there. So if you want the font that I use, you can grab it there. It's the chatbot should help me with that. Boom, there it is. That's the font that I use. But the theme styling tool in here is really handy. you can just grab that and install it as a plugin, and then you have nice colored themes. This is the one that I like. It's colors that I use on my website and stuff, so it's all kind of custom to me. So let's see. Back to the project. I renamed the namespace here Blazor Utilities. I'm going to keep Style Builder as the class name. Started using the font and you like it, Chris? Awesome. Yeah, I've been using Firecode forever, and I just absolutely love the way it works. To me, it's a lot easier to read, and some people disagree, but what's nice about it is it's a font and it's on my system, and if they don't like it, they don't have to install it. So let's see, component utility tests. I need to rename this. I don't want components anywhere in my project anymore, so I want it to say Blazor dot component utilities tests. So I'll even change the test namespaces here. Yes, all these do have unit tests, by the way. Yeah, I install it, like it's on my bucket list for things to install on fresh reinstall when I pave my machine. I have a Trello board that I keep for when I reinstall my computer stuff when I repave. And I have like a list of apps on there. I'm too lazy to create like what are they called? Chocolatey script to do all my installs. I should, but I don't. But yeah, Firecode is on that list, as well as Visual Studio and what's it called? Photoshop and all the Adobe stuff that I use too. Lewis, ligatures are part of the font. Probably 10 years behind. Don't beat yourself up. It's not something for everybody, but I do like the way they work. So you get nice arrow functions like this. The equate type of things, like if I wanted to say if something is, instead of false, I could say double equals, those get translated, and bang equals, so not equals gets translated to symbol. Sorry, I'll slow down a little bit so you can actually see it. You get stuff like that, greater than, less than, equal, or equal to, less than or equal to, those type of things get converted. So it makes it easier to read for me. I like it. I'll turn that guy back to false. So I've renamed some namespaces. I should probably do a rebuild, make sure I didn't break anything, but everything should work just fine now. It's not a very complex project. It's only 2 class files, so renaming a couple namespaces in here isn't going to break much. So everything looks like it has been renamed. Now I can go to the properties of my solution and, oops, I don't want solution, I want, sorry, just the project. And now it's called Blazor Component Utilities, and I can go to package. And I talked about this on the previous show, so I'll catch anybody up that wasn't around for that. If you want to create a NuGet package of something that you've made, whether it's a Blazor component library or some type of API utility like I have here, you can just go into the properties on a project and check generate NuGet package on build, and then just fill in the little form that's here, and this will get you started. So I've already started putting in a description, and I kind of fell short on some of this because the namespace was broken. It actually was causing build errors on projects, so I stopped there and paused for this week's show to pick it back up where I left off. Oh, Mr. Magoo, it's getting late where you are. Have a good one. We'll catch you next week, hopefully. I should be on my regular time next week. I do not have any travel, no events, thank God. The 26th, I do have a conference, so Oh, Streamlabs is just spamming my chat. Sorry for that. I'm trying to get used to the bot. And it looks like it decided to just put a bunch of posts in there. So I'll have to tinker with the bot a little bit. I'm still trying to get the show content exactly where I want it. So I'm kind of messing around with the bot and timed messages and music, which I tried out last week and got plenty of feedback on. People seem to not want the music in the background, which is fine with me. I do like it for the introduction part of the show, though. So keep the feedback coming. And there is it did everything but the feedback message in the bot. More dubstep, yeah, right. That one actually, it was. I keep a monitor on the show now in my ear, and I was like, that is the worst music I've ever heard. It needs to stop. And then I had YouTube comments that were kind of agreeing with that. So I got this form filled out. I got the basics filled out, and I want to rebuild. And rebuilding will update the NuGet package. So now I have blazor.componentutilities.NuGet package, and I'm going to right click on here and open the file in a file explorer because I want to look at the component utilities bin folder. Under release, I have two NuGet packages. This was the old one, so I want to get rid of that one. One thing it doesn't do is remove any old ones that you might have had under a different namespace. So now I have Blazor component utilities in the version number NuGet package. I'll do this again too, so people that missed it last week have a good idea of how NuGet packages work. NuGet package is essentially a zip file. You can actually rename it to a zip, and you can open it up and explore what's inside. It has a spec file in here. We can try to open this guy. Yeah, Visual Studio Code. Pull that up in VS Code and take a look. And it's basically an XML page. So it's an XML doc that has all the fields that we entered inside of that form in Visual Studio. So you can edit these by hand and put them in your project directory, or you can use that built-in tool that I showed. So let's back out of this, and we will rename this back to NuGet package. New package. So it's now a NuGet package again. And if I go into Visual Studio, I'm going to open a project up here. See if it's on my start page still. It was very randomly named. It was like Web App 11 or something like that. Let's see. I can always do a file new project as well. This was one that I was working on. I think it's under repos. Yeah, Web Application 11. It's just a random just file new project that I created where I was using this was the demo from last week, and I was using the CSS Builder package directly as source code pasted in the project, but now I want to add the actual NuGet package and test it out before I push it up to NuGet. So what we can do is go into Manage NuGet Packages. So this is another project, and it is pointing to the folder that I have on disk, that bin folder I just showed you. So this test folder is under component utilities bin release. So the folder name is still component utilities, but it's pointing to the right place. You can tell because I have a package now called blazor.componentutilities, and I can install it on my project. So I always do this first. I always put pull up an external project to that solution, and I give a package source to the solution where the NuGet package is that I'm creating, and I do a quick test install to make sure everything goes correctly, because once you push a project once you once you push a NuGet package to NuGet, if there are any typos in the description, if there's anything wrong with the package, you have to roll a rev to fix it. So you don't have a bunch of version numbers just spinning out of control. Test your packages in an external project just very quickly. Make sure they work before you push them up to NuGet. It will save you an immense amount of time. Trust me, I've done this before and failed at it. So now we have the NuGet package, and we should be able to go in. Let's see, I was hacking at the counter page, and CSS Builder doesn't have a using statement. So now I can come in and say using, and it is under Blazor .component utilities, and now Blazor.component utilities will resolve that CSS Builder. I see Vani. I'm terrible with names. Welcome to the show. You didn't miss too much. I talked about some Telluric Ui for Blazor stuff not too long ago. Took a couple questions on the Telluric Ui bits, and now we're building a NuGet package. So the NuGet package is for CSS Builder, which is a pattern for defining conditional CSS classes that go on your components. And the way it works is we new up a CSS Builder and we say add class. We can give it a default class or a class that's not going to be conditional. And we can also say add class, and then we can say when some condition is met, add that class. So we can turn things on and off in our components really easy. And if we take a look at how this works, I've got a really simple demo. It's just a bunch of radio buttons. So hello from Korea. Awesome. Welcome to the show. All the way from Seoul, South Korea, we've got a viewer. That's awesome. So you can see when I choose these radio buttons, those conditional classes are being toggled from my little utility that I wrote. And that's the NuGet package that I'm prepping to push up to NuGet. So I've got the code actually working now. The NuGet package is built and it deploys correctly to my project. So what I need to focus on now is getting this metadata right. I'm not going to focus on the description so much right now as I am licensing. So I want to add a license. I will put a license file directly in the project. So you're interested in Blazor, you've come to the right place. I do a show every Friday about Blazor. This is this part of the show right now, we're working on a tool for building the base of component. So if you were going to build components out, this is a common pattern that you're going to run into. If you haven't done any Blazor stuff before, the component model is very model view model style of development. So in a component, we generally have things, if you take, say, a tab strip, for example, when you click on a tab and one tab is active, the other tab states become onactive or not selected. You may have a disabled tab, and you have to toggle all of those things. So this is a handy pattern that we can use to bind those values. So we're taking that pattern and we're making a NuGet package out of it so people can easily reuse those bits. And it needs a license. I've pushed plenty of things up to NuGet without a license, and that's the first thing people complain about. I'm trying to remember if it's the MIT license or which one it is. I'm going to go to Bootstrap. Was it Get Bootstrap? Get Bootstrap. I'm going to go find what their license is. I think it's an MIT license. So I'm going to go borrow that one. Let's find them on GitHub. And one of the first things we should find in their GitHub page is a license. And it is right there, license. Let's see if it is an open source. Yeah, this is an MIT license. Let's actually download this file directly. Let's go raw. Let's copy all of this information here, and then we'll have to modify it to our needs. So next, we go to our project, and I will add a new item. This is just going to be a text file. Let's see, what's the easiest way to do just a text file in, we just say HTML, and we'll just call it license. I don't believe you put any extensions on this. Let me double check, but this one doesn't look like it has a license, or I mean a extension. There's no .txt or MD or anything like that. It's just a file called license. So we need to paste their text in, and I can remove this HTML bit off the end. Thank you, Visual Studio, but no thanks. So we'll just call it license like that. And then this copyright, I just need to put my name, I believe. I am not a lawyer, but this is how it's supposed to look to me. Just like that. And then let's make sure there's no other names in here. There's no other Bootstrap terminology. Let's quick search for Bootstrap. Nothing else shows up. Why is Blazor identity not available yet? So I'm going to assume that you're talking about the identity framework. So this would be ASP.NET identity. So entity for ASP.NET Core. This, let's see, repository has been archived. They moved it to another place. So I guess it's under ASP.NET Core now. The ASP.NET Core identity framework is not yet compatible with Blazor. The reason I'm not on the ASP.NET team, so I can only assume, but I have a pretty good educated guess why they haven't integrated that yet, is because there are many views associated with identity. And it's going to take me a second to find it, but it's worth it, so follow along. I'm going to go to, I don't know how to find this other than something that I've worked on before. Let me check my pull requests, closed pull requests. I worked on some scaffolding tools before. Let me see if I can find these. There we go, scaffolding. So if I go to the ASP.NET scaffolding project, okay, so I am now in GitHub/ASP.NET scaffolding. And in the scaffolding, let me go to the root real quick so I can paste this in chat. Inside of that scaffolding, there are templates. If we go under identity, there are two different folders here. There's Bootstrap, there are pages, there's accounts. There are a lot of views associated with identity. Okay, so underneath of pages, there's accounts, and there's also this set of base pages. There's also manage. So there's another folder, and holy cow, there's another 20-something views under there, right? So we've got pages, accounts, and manage all have about, well, this one's only got a few. So we'll say there's about 35, 40 views that belong to identity views. You can imagine that all of these things need to be rewritten as components to work in Blazor. So all those things need to be rewritten for Blazor, and that's immensely time consuming. This also has scaffolding tools, so it's not an easy thing. So Lewis says, can't you just do JWT in Blazor? And what's JWT? I don't know if I am following what that is. And just let identity stuff take place on the server. Yes, but that's technically not identity. That is, I mean, it could, it's identity, but it's not the Microsoft identity framework that people are asking about. They want the ASP.NET identity. That's just usually OAuth, and authentication and authorization is what you're talking about, Lewis. Identity is like the database that keeps people's information for you, does the authentication. The whole ASP.NET identity system that's baked into MVC is very robust, but with all of that complexity, you have to port that over to Blazor. It's going to take some time. I believe it is on the roadmap. So you can find the roadmap there. And if you look at the roadmap, we search identity. It is not on the roadmap, so it's not coming up in search anyway. They do have implement authentication in here on preview 5. So implement authentication is there. Maybe they're not calling it identity in here. What they did in the last update, though, you could use the server-side bits. You're going to have to code your own forms for it, though. The identity server-side stuff is essentially just a database. You would have to install it. You'd probably have to set up an ASP.NET application and have it separate from your Blazor app, because MVC is going to clash with Blazor app right now. But you can do it that way. But you'd have to sew all that stuff together yourself. You're not going to get it out of the box. And the question was more on the topic of why isn't it supported yet. So it's not supported yet. You can customize things yourself to make it happen. But my estimation is it's a lot of work. They have to recreate all of these things plus scaffolding. All of the views are in Razer class libraries. And in the last release of Blazor in 0.9.0, they introduced Razer class libraries. So I'm going on a big assumption that that is one of the building blocks they need to actually make this work. So they're working towards it. Even if it's indirectly, they're working towards it. Okay, so hopefully that kind of sums up the question and gives you at least some answer. Louis, I was looking at setting up a standalone identity server. Yeah, you could do that. You could set up your own identity server. But as far as out of the box, there's nothing right now. You have to kind of take out of the box things and sew them together. Kind of DIY project. Yeah, I hope it'll be available soon as well. I don't think it's one of the current roadmap items that are recent roadmap items, but it is on the roadmap as authentication, and it will eventually get worked on. I think they're laying down all the building blocks before they can actually do that. So there's more priority things on the roadmap itself. So let's see. I've got a license. I need to add that file. So back to our project here. I want the properties here. Properties window, and then file. I should be able to browse for it. It's not under web application. It's under this folder. And why is it not showing in my list? So the tool wants a .text or .markdown file. I do not have it under here as that. I just have it as license. But there we go. Just added that. I probably should look at another NuGet package and make sure it doesn't have to have a text on the end. Actually, it won't hurt anything. I'm going to go ahead and make this a text file, just in case NuGet itself uses text extension. Let's go ahead and browse for that file again and grab it. So the license file is license text. I'm not sure what expression is to put anything in there. I'd have to look that field up and see what it does. Icon URL. For icon, let me see what we need for icon. Let's see if NuGet says NuGet.org. Let's see if they specify a icon format. I don't want what is NuGet. I want creating packages, overview, signing and publishing, config files. Let's see if we can find icon. There's no title of icon. So not a lot of support for telling me what the icon can be. We may be able to set this when we upload the package. So there's some things that are available when we actually upload. So if we go to NuGet.org and we're uploading, let me sign in. And let me pull this off and show any email accounts I might have. Get signed into NuGet, and we'll pull this back. All right. So when we upload, we can upload a package. We can drag and drop a file here. It won't actually upload until we actually submit this, so we can kind of preview what options are here. Let's see, repos, or source, GitHub, component utilities, and this thing is just going to keep pinging me. Let me mute my Skype. Sign out of Skype real quick so that'll quit buzzing in my ear. Bin, release. Here's my NuGet package. This ID has been reserved. Please request access to upload this reserved namespace. Okay. So something is blocking my namespace. So something's blocking my namespace. I'm going to keep doing that to you, Lewis. I'm going to keep clicking that just to drive you insane. I wonder if the Blazor namespace is taken now. It wasn't before. If we look at, let's see, Blazor. It's telling me the Blazor namespace is taken. Not sure how that works. Never had that happen. I guess I probably couldn't upload something called Microsoft. So Blazor component utilities. It's not the component utilities part. So we're going to have to rename the package again. It can't be Blazor dot. I don't know how the Blazor extensions folks did it. Because their namespaces, let's go to their project and see. Their namespaces are Blazor dot as well, so I don't know if they're kind of grandfathered in. Blazor dot extensions, but it's not letting me upload. It's not letting me upload my file. Upload a package. Bribes, they did it with bribes. Yeah, maybe that's it. They got it back 8 months ago with Daniel Roth's help. So Chris, when you say they got it back, you mean the Blazor extensions guys were able to do it with Daniel Roth's help? Wondering, Huh. So if that's reserved, yeah, there's a policy. So I'm gonna have to rename this yet again. Maybe I'll take out the dot. How about that? Let's just try to make this as simple as possible. I keep hitting naming issues. I can't call it components. I can't call it Blazor now. Let's rename it Blazor Component Utilities, all one word. So we will do that. Thank God it's only 2 files. Okay, stop. Visual Studio is not happy with me because I'm doing this. It's like you're mad. You're a madman because you just renamed a project twice and broke everything. Let's try clean solution. Have your name first. Component utilities.blazor. I don't know. Getting to the point where I just want to get it done. No, I don't want Kendo in there. Not putting Kendo in. This is not a work thing for one. What dependencies throwing in here? Blazor component utilities. Add reference. Let's try to remove the reference and then add it back. This project is getting very upset with me. So our tests are back. That fixed that. Rebuild again. All right, so now we should have a NuGet package called Blazor Component Utilities. Let's see if it'll accept that one. So these are things that you might run into uploading a package to NuGet. Some of these things are new to me. There we go. So I have to verify this before I actually upload it. But what's nice is it gives me, like, it read my license file. So that's kind of something I wanted to check. Icon is another one I wanted to look at. Icon URL. So it's a URL, but it doesn't say what that URL is. What I'll do is I'll go peek at somebody else's icon and see what I'm allowed to have. Tags, copyright, I need to add. Repository URL didn't come through. Project URL did. Well, I don't have a project URL and a repository URL, so I'll just repeat that one. So let's go back to properties here and repository URL. What's repository type? GitHub? Is that what they want there? Not sure. Don't have any release notes. I'll just put my name there as a copyright. So I want an icon here as well. So let's look at, I'm going to bail on this. I don't want to upload this at this current time. I'll just grab NUnit here and inspect their logos to grab the size of it. It's 256 by 256 is what they're using. So 256 by 256. That's an easy one to remember. Let's go get an image and we'll do a quick and dirty image upload to get our icon. Repo type is Git. Yeah, that's right. So GitHub's the brand name of a service. So it is a Git repo. Good one, Chris. Nice pointing that out. Thank you. Let's see. I've got, where am I putting my images these days? There we go. So I'm going to open this guy up and let's open it in. I've got a very quick editor here. Where's open with? There we go. Open with. I'll do the Snagit Editor because it's really simple. And I need to resize it as soon as I get my cursor back. It's circling here. So this is either gonna, this app is giving me trouble. I try to keep it easy, open the most lightweight editor possible, and it hangs on me. So just my luck. Probably gonna have to kill this process, really. It looks like it's hung up on me. It's not a good advertisement for Snagit, but they are very, very good software. I don't know what that is all about. So let's just exit that. Let me see if I can pull up the editor this way. Doesn't want to work on stream for me for some reason. Open Snagit Editor. There we go. I'm going to have like 50 of them now, watch, because I clicked on it. It's going to be everywhere. There's my image I want. This is my, I don't want to call it a logo. I don't want to get any trouble. It's my cartoon image. Let's see. Let's do a resize. Where's resize on this thing? I'm used to Photoshop. Resize image. So we need a 256 by 256 image. We'll apply that and save. Let's do save as. I don't want to save over my original. And we'll do 256, enter. So now I have a copy of that at the right dimensions. Where's my Blazor glove 256? There we go. I'm going to copy that file. And I'm going to put it in my component utilities project. The way I'm going to get an icon URL is I am going to, let's look at the Team Explorer for this. Where's my tabs at? So, oh, there's Team Explorer right there. Not used to having the properties window open. Team Explorer changes, and I'm going to go ahead and commit these changes. Rename project, namespace, added license, and added icon. So I've made some changes to my project. I'm going to go ahead and pop those in. I'm going to do a merge. I'm going to merge these into my main branch. I'm the only one on this project, so I'm not going to do a pull request and all that stuff. Let's do merge from project rename to master. Oops, I have to switch branches first. To be in the branch I want to merge into. Merge from project rename to master. There we go. Let's see if that did the trick. Go back to Solution Explorer and I can't see anything. It's probably because I renamed everything. So let's close the solution. Not clone. It won't let me it closed it for me, I guess. Renaming is hard. Oh, that one's gone. Since I've renamed it so many times, Visual Studio is just flat out confused at what I want to do with it. It can't find it anymore. The Team Explorer window or Solution Explorer window blew up on me. It closed my project on me. All right, so it's renamed. It is here, and I've pushed it to NuGet. I mean, I pushed it to GitHub. So if I go to GitHub, now my project is up there. Blazor Utilities logo. Let's see. I've got, I want issues. The name of the project is still going to be, I think I put under CSS Builder. Boy, the naming stuff is definitely hard. So it's none of these names are going to match up. I haven't pushed it yet. So now I needed to go push my repo back up to GitHub. And the change log is going to be like everything has changed when really barely any of the source code itself has changed. There we go. Component.utilities is still the name there. It's not done yet. Let's try refreshing. And I'm getting cached or something. These are not. Oh no, it did. It's the file. The folder names are still component utilities. So that's kind of a mess. But I have my graphic. If I ever change this path, it is going to break my image. That's unfortunate. I should probably fix this now so I don't run into problems down the road. So we're going to rename some more things and break more stuff. This component.utilities here needs to change to Blazor component utilities. These are all of the things that you do not think about when you make a project, is how you're going to run into issues with NuGet, unless you're planning from day one to push these things up to NuGet. Oh man, it's really done a number on it now. I need to go into the CS. Oh, jeez. This is not going to end well. Oh, man. So renaming stuff does not work. Renaming the folders killed it. Let's do Visual Studio Code here. So what I've done, renaming those folders has completely broken my project because they have pointers in them somewhere. It's not going to be at the project level, then it's going to be at the solution level. The solution is going to have a path in it, which I just broke. But it is necessary to break now rather than break it later and have even more problems down the road with images not resolving and whatnot. So here's where that name or that folder path is. This needs to be component utilities there and there. And I should be able to save this file. And thank you, Visual Studio Code, for getting me out of this. One or more projects was not loaded, it said. The test project didn't load still. So there's still something up with the test project. Let's grab the project file again. Whoops, I don't want to open the command line. I'm starting to fumble on things now. Let's see. Opening code. So I've still got a naming issue here somewhere. The project is not called component utilities anymore, so maybe that was it. Let me try reloading that one. It's cool that Visual Studio detects there was a change. See output window for details. Project file could not be found. Blazor component utilities tests CS proj. Did that project file name change as well? So I'm looking for the test project, and it is under this folder. No, it should still be it. All right, so the easiest thing for me to do now is kick this thing out. I've got the Blazor Utilities has loaded. This one has not. I'm going to remove this project, and then I'm going to re-add it. That'll give me some sanity back. So I can do add existing project, and then component utilities tests proj. And now I have my test project back, and I've got some dependencies blowing up here. .NET Standard, why is that exploding on me? Let's do a clean solution, and we will rebuild the solution. Still failing. This one's missing dependencies. So let's add a reference. It is missing. Let's see. Can't find project. Component utilities project. Or name is invalid. Okay, that's fine. Let's go ahead and add this one. And we should be able to edit the CS proj file and make sure the utilities project, we can take that one out. It didn't give me a UI option for taking that out, but we'll try that. rebuild. See if we fixed it that way. 2 succeeded. Yay. We did our final rename. So the folders got renamed. This is going to wreak havoc on the GitHub repo probably, but it's a necessary thing. So let's see what we did in changes. And of course, everything has changed again. More renaming hell. We'll just be honest in that, and we'll push that one up. Push. So pushing that one up, and once that is up, I can go grab my, this is why I did that. This is going to be a 404 now, and I didn't want that image to break later. So I have Blazor Utilities, and Blazor Glove 256 is my file, so I can copy that, and finally can come back to my project, do properties, and inside of my icon URL, I can paste my GitHub link. So that was a very long-winded way of getting that icon up there, but now I'll save this project. Let me go back to my test project where I have set up this GitHub repo, and I can test out my package. And if I open under dependencies, NuGet package manager, an error occurred. Oh boy. That's because I renamed that folder. So I need to go back and update this folder. And surprisingly, it found that it should be component utilities, all one word, bin, release, select, update, okay, and reload. And there's the package. For some reason, it's not pulling the icon in that I uploaded. And I'm not sure why that is. So let's double check. I think I may have, yeah, I grabbed the wrong URL. So it's a good thing I checked. I want to copy the image address from this, not the page itself. So that image address is actually going to be raw equals true at the end. Or actually, this will be a much better URL. I'm going to grab that one and put that in there. So that's, again, I would have had to have rolled an entire new version of the project just to change that icon. So it's a good thing I catch it now. And if I refresh this, let's see if it picks up that icon. It is not picking up that icon. I've got everything else in here that I need. Oh, I didn't rebuild. That's what I didn't do. So I need to rebuild the project because it still has an old version of the NuGet package. Now let's try to refresh. And there's my icon. Okay. So I wonder, let's see, that's going to show up in the feed. I think that'll be good. I don't mind that icon the way it looks there. And I'm just going to add a little, actually, I'll just reverse this text as well. So I'm going to come back here, and I have in my description, I just pulled this off the GitHub repo. I'm just going to swap this description around a little bit so it reads, a clean code approach to conditional CSS classes in Blazor. I'll put Razer components in there as well. I don't think that terminology is going to get used as much though. When building complex ASP.NET Core Razer components for Blazor. So change that verbiage just a little bit, knock some of that Razer components text out of there. Other than that, I think that is good. I'm going to save this guy. And of course, build just to make sure those things get put in there. Now it's actually ready to go up to NuGet. So hopefully you guys are ready to download this thing and try it out for me. This looks good to me. So all the changes took place. And now I can actually publish this out to NuGet. So live on the show, we're going to publish a NuGet package and upload package. And I need to select my package. Let's hope there's no further changes that we need to do. Because like I said, if we do find any other changes, it's going to require us to roll a rev. I want this to go ahead and be 1.0. Let's see, // users and my repo source. I'm trying to remember where this path is again. GitHub, component utilities, bin, release, NuGet package. There we go. So package has an ID, Blazor component utilities, version 1. I'm the owner. I have a license, which will make people happy, I promise. Language, dependencies, .NET Standard 2.0, title, none specified. Title was not an option in this. Authors needs to change. Company. Product. Let's call it that. So I don't know where the title shows up in the metadata on the NuGet site. Let's go ahead and pull up NuGet.org again real quick. Let's just double check and make sure I don't need to add that title. I don't think so. I don't know what title field is. I'm just going to kind of hack away at the HTML real quick. Package title would show up right here, but that's still the same as a package name, I believe. There may be some redundant, what do you call them, fields in this. The package ID and the package name are probably the same thing. That's why we don't have a field for it. Let's preview. There's no mark. Oh, that's for the markdown documentation only. Documentation URL. Let's see. Let's go to GitHub. I'm going to add the documentation in here while I have the ability to do this. I'm just going to point to my markdown file because that's pretty good documentation right there, and I can update that as I need to. I'll put that there and navigate away. Come on. Parameter name, readme URL. Convert. Document failed. I need to do raw. That was my bad again. Get in the habit of just pointing at the actual web page instead of the content. There we go. So there's our documentation. And I'm going to go ahead and submit this. So we should see this live on summary. Summary is going to end up being the same as description. This is going to be good. I'll roll another rev if I need to do anything else. I think this will be perfectly acceptable. So Blazor component utilities version 1 is now online, and people can stop writing me angry emails that this package isn't available. It's now up there, and it has literally almost no dependencies, and you can install it in your Blazor projects. One thing that's nice about it not having dependencies is that if there's a new version of Blazor, it should work fine, and I don't have to update anything. So I may never have to touch this thing again, knock on wood. Let's go to our test project again, and I'm going to go to NuGet.org. I don't think it'll be up there yet. Sometimes they take a few hours. Let's see how quickly that showed up. Blazor component utilities. Yeah, it hasn't shown up yet. These things do get cached So it said on the page here, package has not been published yet. It will be available after validation and indexing are complete. It may take up to an hour. So next week, we'll check it out on the show. We have posted a NuGet package from writing the source code on the show to filling out all the metadata and everything. And you guys got to see all of the roadblocks that I hit along the way. You can tell that uploading things to NuGet is not a simple process, not a terribly complex process. It's just not a simple one either. There's things that you're going to run into, namespace collisions all over the board. Those things I haven't run into on projects before, but I haven't done anything that's kind of overlapped namespaces like that before either. Some of the NuGet packages I have out there are pretty legacy items I don't really support anymore. They had to do with old Foundation and Bootstrap stuff. I do have, let's see, I've got quite a few. I do have some old email tools, some templates for MVC4, and of course, where is that thing? Predicate extensions is up there. Predicate extensions is pretty cool. So this is the only one that I don't really support anymore, but it's something that's very simple. Again, doesn't require a bunch of updates, so it is out there. So now I've got a new one out there. NuGet spec updated. So updated the NuGet specifications, and that guy is launched. I can go ahead and push those changes up. So my GitHub repo is now up to date with the package that's online. I'm going to close Visual Studio out, and that does it for our show today. So if any of you have questions, feel free to pop them in the chat room before I close out the show, and I'll try to answer them. If you're going to Code Stock tomorrow, drop by, say hello. I will be back next Friday. I don't know what the show topic will be off the top of my head. I do have some ideas on projects I'd like to build, so we might start doing that next week. That will be the 19th. So April 19th I'll be back, and I will be prepping for Star Trek, which is the 26th. So we may shift another show to the 25th the following week if we don't get something going sooner. Appreciate everybody coming on for the show and joining me while I push a NuGet package up and fight upstream on the NuGet packages. But it is up there now, so people can go grab that. I know I've had quite a few requests on people wanting to see that be a NuGet package. So actually, before I go, I am going to go online. We'll do a little celebratory victory lap here. Let's go to GitHub, github.com, on my GitHub page, and let's go to issues, and we will close the CSS Builder create a NuGet package request. So we covered this on our show today. The NuGet package has been uploaded. So we are going to close that, issue, and that is all for today. So the CSS Builder is now officially a NuGet package. No more issues, and if anybody wants to see something added to that, feel free to post an issue. We'll talk about it on the show, see if it's something that we need to add. It's a pretty cool little utility. Hopefully you guys find it useful and build something with it. Until next week, keep hacking away at your projects. I'll try to pick up some community news next week and talk about what you guys are building. I try to keep an eye out on Twitter and Gitter and Discord, and I'd really love us to consolidate somewhere on where we chat. But it's going to be one of those situations where we have two outlets to chat about something, and the only way to standardize on where we chat is to create yet another place, and that's not what I want to do. So please don't go out and start like a Slack channel for for Blazor or anything like that. We already have two very busy chat rooms that I'm bouncing between to try to talk to everybody. So hopefully we can agree on one and gravitate to one or the other. Right now it seems to be a pretty good divide between Discord and Gitter. So maybe we'll talk about that next week and see if we can get people to steer in one direction versus another, and then we can all just chat as one big group instead of two. Thanks again for joining me for the show, everybody. Let's take a quick look, see if there's any channels that are friends of mine that are streaming right now. We'll do a quick raid and then we'll close this show down. How does that sound? Let's see. Let's see if I can get this audio cut off before it starts playing through. There we go. So I see Dev Chatter is online. We can try to raid Dev Chatter. If anybody wants to help me with this raid on Dev Chatter, stick around for a second. And I'm going to play some music out while I figure out how to do this raid. I've never done a raid before. So let's go ahead and get that started. Let's see. Let me close the show while I do this. Don't go anywhere, folks. We're going to raid a channel real quick here. Thanks again, everybody. Stick around for just one more moment, please. We're going to get this raid going. So we are about to raid. Let's see, raid. Boom, we're raiding in 5 seconds. Here we come, Dev Chatter. 16 viewers coming on your way. Let's do this. Thanks again, everybody. We'll see you guys next weekend. Let's go.